Today, we're exploring the abandoned Cresson State Correctional Institution, a medium-security correctional facility for male inmates, which operated from 1987 until its closure in 2013. This mountaintop property was originally the site of the Cresson Tuberculosis Sanatorium, which began operations in 1912. In 1956, as the number of TB infections were in decline, the sanatorium was incorporated into the Lawrence Flick State Hospital, and its operations realigned to focus on the treatment of mentally ill patients. The hospital operated in this fashion until its closure in 1982. In 1983, the property was transferred to the Bureau of Corrections and reopened in 1987 as a medium-security state prison. We'll not only be exploring what remains of the prison-era buildings, but also several of the original sanatorium buildings dating back to 1912 that were kept and used by the prison, including this building, built in 1932, that was originally used as a preventorium for children who were either active or potential TB patients, and whose parents were also patients at Cresson. As part of prison operations, it functioned as the administration building, including numerous classrooms for various educational programs for inmates, as well as being a home base for the prison's maintenance department. I couldn't believe the amount of decay that already existed here. To the best of my knowledge, this building was in active use until the prison's closure in 2013, so theoretically, all of this has occurred within the last 8 years. For the attainment of excellence in the operation of education program, accreditation is awarded 2012. I'm guessing this is a classroom for some sort of shop class, given the individual tables and the tool closet, but I couldn't find anything to confirm that. Now that. Let's go upstairs. Despite the size of the building, most of the remaining areas were classrooms and offices that all had varying degrees of decay and items that had been left over from before the closure. Barber school classroom rules. Enrollment is neither a right nor an earned privilege. It was encouraging that this graffiti actually caught me off guard. Every abandoned location I've explored thus far has already been covered in graffiti long before I arrived. The foyer was far more ornamental than the rest of the building, to the point that it seemed almost out of place. To add to the strangeness, a room with several shoe shine stands was just behind it, and adjacent to the kitchen and dining room. Shoe shine stands. I guess as a prison employee, you bone up on the proper use of deadly force while you're getting your footwear polished. This is the J Block Inmate Housing Unit, built in 2006. It's the most recent and last housing unit built before the prison's closure. Are these inmate sign-in, sign-out sheets? Night and medical. What? I have some confusion around the main purpose of this unit. This was either a general population unit, or at least in part used as the prison's restricted housing unit, or RHU. As we will see later on, there is another much smaller and older housing unit whose control desk is labeled as the RHU. However, according to a report from the DOJ regarding the mistreatment of inmates at Cresson, there were 95 prisoners being held in the RHU near the time of the prison's closure, far more than the approximate 20 to 30 cells available in the other smaller housing unit labeled as the RHU. I wonder if this unit served as the overflow for the older RHU unit when it was at capacity. Is that solitary? Showers. Showers. You can get locked into a shower. No. 9/29/2012. Makes sense. Right next to a high voltage area. entrance, as well as a partial collapsing of the stairs leading to the balcony. The chapel is in surprisingly decent shape. The wooden pews and railings are all still pretty much intact, with zero graffiti that I could find. Built in 1949, this building served as a dorm for the female nurses at the hospital. As part of prison operations, it was used as a special needs unit for prisoners who, as a result of mental illness or other disabilities, were more vulnerable and/or required additional support or protection. You know, you get the feeling like you're in an old office building. Everyday building, until you notice all these, what I'm assuming are panic buttons. Individual control selection, lock. At 9 p.m. the power is off on the panel power and all locks in group position and neutral lock position lamp test. I don't know what that is, but I'm not messing around with it. Okay, so I'm not a ghost person or like a whatever paranormal believer, hunter, whatever, but there's only one way into that building that I can find, and then it's that front door, and then only one way from that that's accessible up to that second floor. And I went in and up to the second floor, and there was something way in this back end over here on the second floor. Probably just a bird or a bat, but sufficiently freaked me out. The gym is another of the newer buildings, built in 1987 for use by the prison inmates and staff. We're now heading to the oldest buildings on this campus, starting with the kitchen and dining buildings, as well as the original administration building. Both buildings were built in 1912 and were part of the original TB Sanatorium complex. The kitchen and dining building that we're entering first continued to be used for food service as part of the prison. However, what was the admin building during the hospital days was converted to provide general inmate services as part of the prison operations. Is that a tunnel? Let's see where this goes. Wow, it's narrow. This tunnel was likely built sometime in the 1930s and served as a way to transport hospital patients and later inmates between buildings during times of inclement weather. It connected the kitchen and dining building to the chapel and children's house and likely others as well. I eventually realized I had traversed almost the entire length of the campus and ended up in the basement of the first building we explored. At that point, I turned around, trekked back through the tunnel to the kitchen and dining building, and continued exploring there. This very cool but inexplicably placed painting on a wall in the original admin building has unfortunately begun to succumb to the same natural decay as the rest of the buildings. The main kitchen area was used from the very beginnings of the sanatorium in 1912 to prepare meals for the patients and staff, and continued to be used by the prison to prepare meals for inmates. As with many things I came across during my time here, the elevated guard post in the kitchen was a very strange sight. I believe this is the original dining room, as well as where religious services were likely held before the opening of the chapel in 1914. This was the last area I had to explore. the prison's restricted housing unit and the hospital's medical services unit. Despite some conflicting information on inmate capacity, I'm going to assume this was the prison's restricted housing unit, or RHU. So we must be at the staff post. So it says exercise. Yep. Okay. So we're at the staff post. You got the exercise areas there. Inmates were housed in the RHU for violating prison rules, threatening the security of others, or to protect them from significant threats to their own safety. They were locked down in their small cement cells for 23 hours a day, with severe restrictions placed on their ability to engage in even basic activities, such as reading or contact with others. Additionally, they were exposed to intensive security measures, such as frequent and unannounced cell searches. Near the time of the prison's closure, there were 95 inmates housed in the RHU, far more than could be housed here, even doubled up. The Medical Services Unit was built in 1952, shortly before the Sanatorium was incorporated into the state hospital and its services expanded, with a shift in focus from tuberculosis patients to those with mental disabilities. What did we buy? I don't know. But it cost $12, and is there a date? 6/29/06. The top floor that we're exploring now contained a combination of offices for medical staff and patient rooms. The prison continued to use the facility to treat inmates, hence the updated security measures. Oh, there's a whole other section here. I'm glad I checked. No spoon. The first floor contained an X-ray department, a lab, a pharmacy, and a dental clinic, as well as other miscellaneous services. What the heck is a hard cell? What is this? I figured I got this light. Let's keep looking. Oh, look at that. They have an old X-ray machine still here. Protocol for UGI series. That is so cool. Oh, leg stirrups. Just a second. I guess. And with that, it was time to call it a day. The former prison is now privately owned by a local produce company who uses several of the former prison housing units for hydroponics. They understand the historical significance of this site and offer reasonably priced opportunities for the public to explore it, with 100% of the proceeds going to the Cresson Summit Preservation Foundation. Normally, I end these videos with a comment about how I hope someone with the available resources will help to preserve the location from getting any worse. I'm happy to be able to say that Big House Produce is already doing just that.